and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to pitch it, and our running back coach didn't take the pass. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show, powered by MaXSports. With Martin and Xavier, we're live, local, and ready to get things rolling on your home for Alabama sports. It is the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Alabama sports, your show, your team. Playbook for the day. Got a little Throwback Thursday. Going to look at inside the locker room. Inside the locker room, that's the show that comes on after us, of course. We're going to look at Inside the Playbook. Inside the Playbook, we'll look at some things that Bama needs to do to get things headed in the right direction, maybe some things that Alabama can do that will help Alabama get back on their winning ways. Couple topics that we can hit. As I said, it's a Throwback Thursday. And what I mean by that, we're going to go back and look at Alabama's only matchup against South Florida and just remind us, Bama folks, of where we've come from. So a little Throwback Thursday, Bama versus South Florida. We'll have Max recruiting inside the Playbook, as I mentioned earlier. Thinking about the Throwback Thursday, are we as Bama fans dealing with the curse of the Bama standard? And we asked this question yesterday, but we didn't get to answer it, and we may not even get to it today. But what if Tyler Buchner starts tomorrow? Is that fair to Jalen Milroe? Yes or no? Will it tell you anything? Will it be that Tyler Buchner earned a job, or they gave him the job because Milroe didn't get the job done? Someone sent it to me yesterday, so I'm not going to claim to have said this originally myself, but they said, man, this is almost the Dayball scenario all over again. And I didn't fully understand it, but then had later conversation, and someone else said the same thing. Is it that we're dealing with an offensive coordinator that wants another guy at quarterback, so he calls the game accordingly? Does he call the game that fits the guy that he ultimately wants to be the starter? And what am I referring to? The Jalen Tua situation, where Dayball wanted Tua, and it was obvious that he leaned that way, made it known he leaned that way, caused friction in the staff. I'm not sure that it caused friction amongst the team because of the two young men that was there. And I think Jalen Milroe has some of that same genuine good guy Christian value that he's not letting it divide the team. But is it a strain on the team and on him and on others? Because does Tommy Rees want his guy? I'm going to say to all of you who took the picture and saw an offensive coordinator with his hand on his head, that does not mean he was frustrated at Jalen Milroe and talking to Jalen Milroe. That was a frustrated offensive coordinator. You know what can frustrate an offensive coordinator? The fact that he can't call what he wants to call because the wide receivers can't get open. Maybe he can't call what he wants to call because the offensive line can't block long enough to call what he wants to call. Maybe he wants to call something deep and but it's a slow developing route, or maybe he can't call what he wants to call because he's not getting enough push in the run game, or maybe he's not calling what he wants to call because he knows that the snap is off and it's going to throw the timing off. So all of you who have saw one moment snapshot picture and said, "Oh, he was mad at, he was frustrated." Come on, people. How many of you were doing the same thing? How many of you are doing the same thing? How many of you are doing that same thing with the defense? How many of you did the exact same movement and touched your head when Kool-Aid McKinstry didn't turn around and play the ball? Should we bench Kool-Aid McKinstry? Should we bench Terrion Arnold, who grabbed the guy's jersey, like holding like 3 times, where he didn't just grab him, but he held him and ran with him? Should we bench Caleb Downs, who bit on the same play? First time he bit not quite as much. The second time he bit enough that they completed the pass in the end zone. I mean, should we bench the whole defense that gave up 21 points in the first half? Should we? Because I heard someone said that our defense was tired, guys. Hold on, I want to ask Xavier about that. So I'm gonna go ahead. Remember that this is the day that the Lord has made. So let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Xavier, someone said the defense was tired in the fourth quarter. That's why they gave up the touchdowns. Well, they ran 72 plays for the whole game, I think it was. How many of those was ran in the fourth quarter? Oh, yeah. Well, they didn't have to run as many in the fourth quarter until that 7-minute drive. Hey, listen, if our defense is tired off of 70 plays, we're in trouble. X.
Very much so, especially because there's a lot of rotation happening in that defense. This isn't one group of guys playing 72 plays. There's a lot, especially up front. And the lot, Jahai Campbell's back. Saw him out there. Saw Trey Amos. A lot of guys are rotating in that secondary as well. So if they're tired after 72 plays, and how many of them, as you said, were on that 7-minute drive, these boys need to get their conditioning up.
And that's another whole question. Do we need to get our conditioning up? Is that a problem? Are we missing old Scotty Cochran? I think so. So, but there's a lot we're going to get to. So we'll hold on. Older players, former players, beginning to comment. Some saying they're embarrassed by what they saw. Are we dealing with the curse of the Bama standard? Or are we in the curse of the Bama standard is that we have been spoiled and we're 1-1, and we probably just played potentially the best team that we'll play in the regular season. I don't know that anybody on our roster, regular season roster, is as good as Texas. Texas sitting at number 4, and if they play the way they played against us, they probably are the number 4 team in the country, at least. So is it the curse of the Bama standard and our expectations? Because we're going to do a little throwback here in a moment. But before we do that, X, we're going to talk a little recruiting. But we'll get Pat already wanting to talk to you, and so he has a recruiting question, so I'll let him start it off. Pat, you're in with Martin and Xavier on the Alabama One hotline with a recruiting question. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, X, where do we go to get edge rushers, to get defensive linemen, to get somebody that can plug the middle? Oh my Lord, we got to revamp the entire program, buddy.
Do you think the run game is what we need to fix, Pat?
All of it. That somebody that can be a 3-down middle guard. That somebody that can stay in the game, doesn't have to be rotated in and out. That can rush the passer and stop the run.
I mean, I think that the guys that we have, I think that's what they think we have. I don't think that run was the problem the other night.
No, yeah, they didn't run the ball. They not that much.
Yeah.
Let me say this, and then I'll let you respond, Xavier. Pat, do you know that last year Texas played against us, and their scheme, they thought they had to use 8-man protection. This year they used 5-man protection most of the night.
All I know is Bo Davis had our number.
Well, I was talking about I'm talking about our defensive line versus their offensive line. They ain't got nothing to do with Bo Davis.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about that we couldn't get any pressure on the quarterback at all. And I think part of it was the way that Stark called the game. He was the quarterback was getting rid of the ball extremely quickly. I was watching it from the end zone, and I mean, it was just like 1, 2, bam, it was gone till the ball was gone. It wasn't 1, 2, 3, 4. It was gone on 2 a lot of the time.
He did whatever he wanted. He did 2-step drop, 3-step drop. He did everything. Pat, he could have taken us 8-step drop if he wanted to.
Yeah. But,
it wasn't. I promise you, some of that was about getting it out quick. There was an old coach, and X, I'm gonna let you respond to the recruiting question on the other side, because I have to just, Pat, listen to this. There was an old coach, very, very good offensive coach, that after the first series, he said this, after the first series on us on offense, them on in defense, he said Texas think they can win up front.
Yeah.
You know how he knew that? Their scheme. They came in thinking that we did not have the physical prowess up front to block their defensive line, nor to get past their offensive line.
No,
they came into the game with that mindset. So we're going to answer that question about where we go in recruiting, but I don't know if it's just recruiting. Our coach said that he doesn't know if this team has the talent to win, but all of the professionals say this is the most talented roster in college football.
Yeah, my question for X is, Tommy Brockermeyer, when he came out of high school, was rated number one player in the country.
So you can respond. Just hold on. We'll get you on the other side. How about that?
Okay.
We'll just hold that. Hey, come back on the other side. We'll flip over because we got a question on the chat as well. We'll get more recruiting talk with Max Recruiting right here on the Martin Houston Show.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks. Things pretty quiet on the roadways on this Thursday morning. Now, if you see conditions, just give me a call. 205-886-8886. Townsend Nissan is the home of fair, fun, and fast deals. And they're the home of instant savings. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO and founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. In the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. Timeshare is the only thing that you can buy that you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check to fill out any amount they want for annual maintenance and assessment fees. The crazy thing is, this never ends. Even when you die, your family's now going to be stuck with this burden. Stop the insanity today. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit. 800-979-1177. 800-979-1177. 800-979-1177.
Ask Sherwin-Williams during the 4-day super sale, September 15th through the 18th, and get 40% off paints and stains with prices starting at $26.69. That means 40% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, get 40% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partially sunny today with only a small chance of a shower, the high 85. Tonight fair with the low at 66. For tomorrow and Saturday, a mix of sun and clouds both days with scattered showers around, highs between 84 and 87. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 71 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Well, they've been good this week. They've all been able to practice and do what they can do. Now, this team's going to go fast. They're fastball as fast as anybody in the country goes. So, probably can't, sub on third down. You're going to have to probably play with whoever's in the game. So when we tried to do that in the past against teams like this, we get caught with 12 guys on the field, or we can't get them off the field when they make a first down. So we've been playing with those 5 guys. They've all not had any issues this week. So hopefully that'll be beneficial in terms of practice reps, togetherness, communication, and all that type of thing.
That's Coach Nick Saban talking about secondary depth and rotation of the DBs and substitutions. And back to Pat's point, you better have somebody that can play all 3 downs in the defensive front. You listen to the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. We're talking with Max Recruiting. Don't forget to go check out Alabama One. Great promotion going on right now. Get in on it. Still time for you to win. Monthly winners of $1,000, weekly winners of $100 gift packages, and then a $5,000 grand prize be given away at the end of October. Just think about that, a fall getaway. You're going to be able to head off into the mountains of wherever you choose. If you're choosing snow caps or just the beautiful leaves as they turn, all you need to do is get one of our auto, small wreck, small equipment, or open a deposit account, CD 5.3 APY, or our Ascend fund, which is 4%, but no early withdrawal penalties. Either way, we'll make you a winner. That's alabama1.org. Alabama one together. What's your one? All right, Pat, go ahead and ask your question.
All right, Martin, what I was talking about is James Brockermeyer came in as the number 1 center in the country in the class. And I realized we missed on Tommy. Was this a product of COVID? Coach not getting these guys on campus in order to work them out. I don't know. All I know is that there's no way that James could have been any worse than Seth was Saturday night. I am very bent out of shape with Seth. What do you think, X?
That's been a lot of talk around that 2021 recruiting class. When you look at it, there's been a lot of guys leave from that class, guys that didn't live up to expectations and things of that nature. Was it due to COVID? Was it due to coaches not being able to go to camps and you were really just having to rely off of what you were told in film and not being able to see these young men in person. But I mean, Seth was bad Saturday. He was bad. And rumors that he's got a broken bone in his hand. And my thing is, if that is the case, you cannot tell me that Dalcourt at center, Brockemeyer at center. If you move Dalcourt, you can put Ferguson at guard. That wouldn't be a better option than having snaps continuously roll back to him having to take his eyes off of the defense. It's a lot of things that go into that, but that is a lot of the talk around the 2021 class that because of COVID, there wasn't proper evaluations.
Let me ask you this question, and this is not really recruiting. How bad does Elijah Pritchett have to be at pass pro if we were just think about how if Saturday was the best we have to offer? I think Proctor is going to be a beast, okay? But he's young, and he was exposed by another young defensive player the other night, and other guys, not just the true freshmen, but others. If Proctor doesn't commit late in the cycle, Xavier, what will we be doing right now? We were told that we had 7 to 8 starters on that offensive line. That's what we were told. 7 to 8 starters. And we had a center with a broke hand that we didn't replace. We had a left tackle that, guys, he got called for like 2 holdings. He tackled that guy. You can go back and watch it. He tackles the guy probably 3 or 4 more times and held a lot more. On virtually every pass play.
Got whooped.
I mean, it was, and like I said, I don't want to hurt the young man's confidence and all that, and I want him to hang in here with us as Bama fans and grow into it. But this true freshman starting is not the same as Cam Robinson starting and Quanjo starting and Neil. This is different. This is different. But to your point, Pat, they're highly rated. Based on the power rankings, they say this is the best recruiting class. This is the most talented roster in college football. And it's a gap between us and Georgia, who's number 2. Here's the question I have, X. Didn't everybody else have to recruit in the COVID year?
They did. And they apparently have recruited better.
So what does that say? So, thanks, Pat. I'll also
thank you guys. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Pat. I'll also have go back and hit that defensive lineman question if you want to hit it that Pat asked earlier, where he was like, can we find someone, or do we need to find someone that can play all 3 downs? And the question becomes, has Jaheim Otis lost too much weight was a question. And, is he a better pass rusher or was he better with that weight at pushing that center and moving the middle of the pocket? Or is it that no one else around him calls for help? So, and this is what does all of our guys, can all of our defensive guys be blocked one-on-one?
And I was actually talking to someone about this yesterday. When it comes to that, I said in the past we've had the Courtney Upshaws, we've had the Tim Williams, Ryan Anderson, to Will and Dallas and the guys that we have now. But most of those guys, Will, his freshman year, he had a Christian Barmore. And even though his sophomore year was his best season, then you look at who the guys Ryan Anderson and Tim Williams had. They had Payne and Williams and Allen, and the list goes on back of just dominant, space-eating, double team requiring interior defensive linemen. So they got a lot of one-on-one situations. And I don't see that right now with our defensive line. Otis potentially, like you see it in spurts, you see it in flashes where he just ends a double team. But now when he's commanding that double team, they're still able to shift because nobody else is getting any push on that defensive line. So Dallas Turner and Braswell, who are 245, 250, are getting double teamed by a tackle and a tight end or a tackle and a guard, and they're not able to do anything. Testing a lot for guys their size to beat somebody that is as big as them, plus somebody that outweighs them by 60, 70 pounds, and so on. So their defensive line isn't as intimidating as it used to be. And that's the facts of the situation. We've got Damon Payne Jr., we've got Tim Smith, we've got Otis, we've got five-star defensive linemen. They're just not playing to that level that some of those 5 stars played in the past, or a 3-star that really wanted it, like the Quinnen Williams.
Yeah, no one strikes fear, and they have to work to get better. Is coaching that important in that line? Would Bo Davis do more with this defensive line? Would the scheme be better? I mean, Bo Davis and company had a great scheme against Alabama, and they executed it to a T. Any recruiting news or updates you have specifically you want to hit this morning?
Yeah, I hit on it a little bit yesterday. Antonio Coleman, 4-star defensive lineman in the 2025 class from Saraland, committed to Alabama earlier this week. He's that KJ Lacey, Ryan Williams. He's another one of those guys that's in that group of just pipeline talent that is being created down at Saraland. Explosive guy. He'll have to put size on. I think he's around 250 to 260 right now. It's 6'3", 6'4". So if he's going to be a true defensive lineman in this scheme, he'll have to put on some weight. But really explosive young man. So Bama needs to make sure that he can keep that explosion with the size that he puts on. Very Jordan Renaud, who signed with Alabama in this past class, similar builds, and going to be interesting to see how he grows and matures, as well as a couple surprise visits this weekend that were kind of late minute ads, and that was the 2 5-stars committed to Auburn, and Perry Thompson, the wide receiver from Foley, and DeMarcus Riddick, the bagger from Chilton County. They both were in town visiting. So was it, spying, anti-recruiting type going on, or were they actually here still potentially interested in Alabama? Is going to be interesting to see, as well as Terry Bussey, the 5-star athlete from Texas, came in for the game. He loved the environment, didn't really talk too much about what he thought about the winner, the loser, but just said the environment in Alabama was special, made him feel at home, and he could see himself in a Crimson Tide jersey next year. It is a battle between Bama and Texas, so it'll be interesting to see if that decision at all.
Yeah, and being able to hang that SEC banner is losing a little bit of its luster over the Texas players that we used to draw, because now you can go to Texas, stay at home in Austin. Their people are all in on NIL, and you're still playing in the SEC, so that loses a little bit of its luster, as well as the SEC right now not doing too good to start off the season. I think the only ranked team the SEC has beaten is Tulane, who was down their quarterback. So the SEC, it better start meaning more. Could the SEC beat each other up? Could Tennessee upset Georgia, and then maybe somebody upset Alabama again, and then Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC? Who knows which way it's looking right now? I don't see a dominant team in the SEC right now. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep the conversation going. Todd is on the line. We'll transition on the other side. As we go to break, we'll play Nick Saban talking about what the SEC or recruiting in Tampa means for Alabama. Thanks for the conversation right here on the Martin Houston Show. We'll be back in one moment with a little Throwback Thursday.
I think anytime you play on the road and you play a quality opponent, which I think these guys have made tremendous improvement in their team and the quality of the players and all that. I mean, it's a game that's going to be on TV. It's a good market for our fan base in Central Florida. So I think it's all good. But I think it's only good if you play good. So, I mean, image is something that you got to work to really have in terms of what I talked about before in terms of standard, how you play and the things that you do. So that pride in performance is going to be important no matter where we play.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks. Things pretty quiet on the roadways on this Thursday morning. Now, if you see conditions, just give me a call. 205-886-8886. Townsend Nissan is the home of fair, fun, and fast deals. And they're the home of instant savings. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
With Taco Casa, it's not really fast food because it's made fresh every day in the store. The quality hasn't changed. The consistency hasn't changed because we haven't changed anything in the food. It's made fresh every morning in every restaurant. I think buzzwords in today's food industry are locally sourced and high quality ingredients. We want to say, that sounds great. We've been doing that since 1974.
Under the biggest cactus in town, Taco Casa.
It's back, the Captain Ray and Randy College Football Forecast Show, where we pick the winners against the spread. Join me and Randy Smalley Friday evenings at 11, right here on Tide 100.9. 15 minutes of fun and information. It's presented by Randy Smalley Floor and Tile.
Klein Tools are new at Lowe's, pros. Lowe's knows you want top brands and quality products, and Klein Tools delivers. Right now, get the Klein 3-piece ModBox mobile workstation for $319.94 and the Klein 5-piece cushion grip screwdriver set for just $34.97, both exclusively at Lowe's. Shop the largest selection of Klein tools, the highest quality tool brand at Lowe's. Because Lowe's knows tools, Lowe's knows pros.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
Second down and 6. Banks in trouble. Buying time, firing, and it is caught! Touchdown, South Florida. Brian Fisher in for 6.
Banks was right there. I mean, you have to think about that. That's taking you back. That's a little Throwback Thursday audio there from Alabama versus South Florida for quite a while. That was about 8 minutes to go in the first quarter. And Alabama fell behind South Florida 7-0. And of course, that was the kickoff to the Shula era, 2003. And of course, Alabama went on to have a stellar 4-9 season, while South Florida had only been playing football in big boy ball for 3. It was their third year. They went on to 7-4 out of Conference USA. Alabama got the 40-17 victory up at Legion Field. Okay. So I just want you to think about that for a second. As me, you, and all of us complain about Texas coming into Bryant-Denny and beating Alabama football 34-24. Alabama having a lead against Texas at the beginning of the fourth quarter, having been outplayed in the offensive line, having been outplayed on the defensive line, having had guys run all over the field, having had, I think we had 9 penalties at that point, had 1 turnover to no turnovers, ended up with 2-0. Nobody's talking about that. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. I got another throwback play I want to play here in a moment. But, X, are we sometimes suffering from the Bama standard in our complaining? Would we be as Virgil Williams said here? He said, "It's amazing how everyone is talking about benching Milroe, but not saying anything about benching any of the O-line or defensive line or the defense. Is it just the quarterback? Is it the fact that Milroe is the guy who has to replace the guy? Is this the way we're going to treat whoever the coach is that replaces Nick Saban? Will we continue to hold him up to a glass a standard that he may grow into, but he won't come out the gate probably living up to? And if you bench Milroe right now, what will you know? What will we know if Todd Buchner starts Saturday? What has that proven? What do we know? He might very well take the team the rest of the year undefeated. But does that mean that Milroe couldn't get the job done? No. Right? I mean, what just because Ty goes on to win, does that mean that because he didn't have to play Texas and you didn't put him in against Texas? You said you thought about it, but you didn't. Well, if this guy's been the best since spring, all summer, all fall, and he comes against the test, and you say it's the midterm, more of a pop quiz, midterm, do you fail the person at midterm, or do you coach them and teach them to be able to pass the final? Your thoughts?
No, I mean, I think you give them the test. It's one of those situations, as you said. Texas is probably the best team on the regular season schedule. And if you replace them and then you put in the next guy, the next guy has an easier slate. If you're really serious, you should have benched Jalen during the game, seen what Ty did, and then but I think it's really interesting with the way this is shaping out there.
I will be. I mean, I will be disappointed. Number one, if he's benched based off of that game. Based off of that game, I'll be bent. Now, if there was a Tua behind him, it'd be different. If you had a clear-cut, capable guy behind him, a guy who either has a track record that says he's better, or a guy who has shown clearly. Everybody forgets that Tyler Buchner was the third-team guy up until, and some people say, well, that's because he got here late. Guys, he got here at the beginning of the summer, okay? And they practiced all year. And when I was playing, guys came in and wasn't even in camp during the summer, okay? Wasn't even in school during the summer. Wasn't allowed to practice during the summer. He had all summer to learn the offense, and then he had a whole camp. Tua Tagovailoa came in and in the summer was ready to beat out the SEC Player of the Year. The SEC Player of the Year before came in and by spring we were already talking about, well, this kid may be ready to play. Actually, we started talking about him, how good he was. Talking about Jalen Hurts, we talked about how good he was when he showed up out of high school. That's the difference. I don't know that the guys behind Milroe, they're not the same caliber of guys we've had in the past. So what do you do? What do you do? Let's see what Todd has to say, and then I got a couple other questions I got for you, X. Todd, you're in on the Alabama One hotline with Martin and Xavier. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning, Martin and X. Man, I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. OC got busted in the mouth. He better go home, put his big boy pants on, and come back ready to go. If he's coaching like you said early in the very start of the show, if he coached that game for a one-man failure for other man to get in, shame on him. I don't have a whole lot more to say about that because the best thing for me to do is keep my comments myself on a guy like that. If he did do that, I do have a question for Xavier on recruiting. For Texas to come in, manhandle Bama the way that they did and win the way they did, and to basically Texas out-coached Alabama, what does that do? What does that do to a young man coming in on the sidelines, being recruited to Alabama? What do you think those young guys take away from that game, Eggs?
I think it depends on the young man. Honestly, I think my dad has the best story about what got him to commit to Alabama, or one of the games that he went to against Florida. Dad?
Yeah, it really is based on circumstance and situation. If all things being equal, anybody that's between Texas and Alabama, they're choosing Texas right now. What happens is in the real life scenario, Todd, is Texas now has the upper hand on recruiting the Bussy kid, because now they can walk in and say, you can stay home, you can stay in a state where you will be known, and we will be in the SEC, and we have the program going in the right direction. And now without any fear, they can acknowledge how dominant Saban is and say he is the GOAT without running from that statement. But we're only come up, and you are an athlete. And look at what Hunter's doing at Colorado. Hey, we may be able to use you in that same capacity both ways. We're willing to be more contemporary. Saban is set in his ways. That's why we're able to do what we did to his defensive backs, because he won't change. All of that becomes real in the conversation. But ultimately for me, I came to watch Alabama play Florida, and had been recruited by Auburn for 3+ years, had never been to an Alabama game, came to see Alabama play Florida. Emmitt Smith was a running back. They had a defensive back named Lewis Oliver. Dog, man, he was a beast. Alabama got mud stomped, and I decided I was going to come play for Alabama that day and didn't tell anybody. You know why? I looked out. They had 2 senior fullbacks, Bo Allen, Doug Wright. They had a guy named Wayne Shaw and Kevin Turner, who were the other fullbacks. I looked and said, I can go here and play. Those guys are going to be gone. Kevin Turner's a freshman. The other guy is an upperclassman. I can get in here and play. And so even though Alabama got beat, I decided that day all Alabama had to do from that point on was not lose my commitment. I never made a verbal commitment or anything, but in my heart, I knew that I was coming to Alabama that day. And then North Carolina State proceeded to sell me on the academic side and had me flipped from Alabama, Todd. And it snowed on the day I was going to go on my official visit to North Carolina State. Boom, I fell back and came to Alabama. So Alabama wasn't a bad secondary prize in commitment. So it worked out pretty good. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
All right, coming back on the other side, we'll keep the conversation going right here. Hey, I got another little throwback Thursday clip I want you to hear coming out on the other side. Something that no one's talked about. We had some keys to victory, and we'll talk about those on tomorrow. But there's some things that we said this Alabama team needs to do against Texas. Did we do any of them? We definitely didn't do this one. We'll tell you what that is on the other side.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks. Things pretty quiet on the roadways on this Thursday morning. Now, if you see conditions, just give me a call. 205-886-8886. Townsend Nissan is the home of fair, fun, and fast deals. And they're the home of instant savings. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good morning, it's Mary Kay, live from the Town Square Media Newsroom, and Alabama's baseball 2024 conference schedule has been released, and months of heavy road work will kick off on Tuscaloosa's Jack Warner Parkway today, which will lead to closures through the end of 2023. And the Alabama Crimson Tide football team takes its first road trip of the season to take on South Florida this Saturday afternoon in Tampa with a kickoff at 2:30 Central. If you tap the free Tuscaloosa Thread app now, we have the details on different ways to enjoy the game coverage.
Is there anyone out there who's a fan of Sticker Shock? Hi, Barry Buchner for Tuscaloosa Hyundai. Keep those hands down. And I'm sure you will, because no one is a fan of Sticker Shock. But while I'm talking stickers, I'm going to raise my hand as the #1 critic of add-on side stickers. Some dealers call them price addendums or adjustments. Side stickers are adjustments, all right. They adjust your price to another level. The worst part, it's the dealer sticker, not the factory. Tuscaloosa Hyundai will never charge over the manufacturer's suggested retail price on any new Hyundais. No exceptions. And no add-on side stickers. Does that make us exceptional? If you want to pay more, that's your business. If you want to save, that's our business. Tuscaloosa Hyundai, corner of Skyland and Hargrove, TuscaloosaHyundai.com.
Join Tide 100.9 this Friday from 12 to 2 for Fridays at the Free. Come see Lars Anderson and Matt Coulter for Big Noon Sports live at Innisfree Irish Pub, Tuscaloosa's best bar for 25 years and counting. Innisfree's Irish Pub has delicious pub food with an Irish flair. Come have the Innisfree Lucky Lunch, a delicious meat and three, while Lars and Matt get you ready for the Bama game this weekend. Fridays at the Free, every Friday during football season with Tide 100.9 and Innisfree Irish Pub, located at 1925 University Boulevard, downtown Tuscaloosa.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Woodson, 2nd and long, and it's intercepted, picked off, look out, here goes Charlie Pepper, touchdown, Alabama.
When was the last time? When was the last time, Bama, you had that experience? Think about that for a second. Let me see if I can play that one more time. I want you to think about this, Bama. When was the last time you had this experience? Did you hear that noise of the crowd just going off? The crowd just going off for Bama. I mean, just an absolute amazing. Charlie Pepper, by the way, the son of royalty, a grandson of royalty from his native land, an interception and return for a touchdown. Anybody remember when you didn't go into a game going, if Alabama was going to get a touchdown, a turnover X, it was whether or not Alabama was going to get a pick six. I can remember doing shows, and part of the conversation is, will Alabama get a pick six? Now we're just trying to figure out if we can get a turnover of any kind. We said Alabama would need to have turnovers, no penalties, dominant and control the line of scrimmage against Texas to win. And they did none of those, but we're blaming the quarterback. Not only the quarterback, but mostly everybody wants a quarterback to be changed. And that's what everybody does. Whenever a team doesn't do well, everybody wants a quarterback changed out. But wouldn't it be nice to see Alabama with a turnover? X, are you there?
It makes no sense that. Yeah, it makes no sense that you don't see this defense get turnovers, and it's that Bama standard. We're spoiled. We're used to it. We've seen it. There's 2015, 16, 17 teams where it was if you didn't get a turnover for a touchdown. But now we're at the point 7 turnovers all of last year. Like that's unacceptable by any team standard, especially Alabama's. And then so it's just one of those things that at this point something's got to give.
Yeah, and that's the crazy part. Before we go to Philip, I missed a question. Virgil Williams asked earlier. With what everyone is saying, my recruiting question is, where do we go to get a strength and conditioning coach?
That's a good question.
And maybe that's the missing link. Yeah. So he also commented when I said, what we're going to do to the guy that comes after Coach Saban. He said we did it with Coach Bryant. That's what we're doing some with Jalen Milroe. We talk about the Bama standard. I do have a clip for that. But before we do that, let's get to Philip. Philip, you're in with Martin and Xavier on the Alabama One hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, Martin, we share one thing in common. I was at that same Penn State game, but unfortunately, you were the recruit. I wasn't. I was just the same game. I think that might have been Emmitt Smith's first game to start at Florida.
Yeah, and the irony, let me tell you the irony of just the inside scoop. The guy who coached Emmitt Smith, Emmitt Smith was a true freshman. The guy who coached Emmitt Smith ended up being my coach at Alabama for 3 years. Right. Larry Kirksey. Yeah. Unbelievable running back coach, man. My goodness, that dude could coach running backs.
Yeah, Galen Hall was the head coach. Man, Martin, all I want to say is your show is just great. I love your analysis, and I think we take it for granted. But I want to let you know, man, I appreciate the way you talk about the games and the little analysis and how tight ends can chip and all that sort of stuff. That's just an example. But here's my score for Saturday: Alabama 38.
Oh, you gonna go ahead and meet yours today? Hold on one second. I got to get Tim a page. Hold on.
I'm off tomorrow. So.
Okay, let me. I want to get you in here, Philip. And you just put me on the spot. Let me see tiebreaker.
I'm sorry.
Philip, no. What you want? What you want to be the tiebreaker this week? You get to pick.
Let's see, tiebreaker. I'm going to say Tyler Buchner passing yards.
But what if he don't get any?
He's going to get some. He's going to get some.
All right. Now. I guess I better go ahead and get 2 in case Tyler Buchner doesn't play. What's your score before I forget that? Go ahead.
Alabama 38-20.
38 to
20.
All right. And if I'm gonna get 2 tiebreakers, so I want you to give me Ty Buchner's passing yards and USF's total yards.
Okay. Tyler Buchner's passing yards is going to be 65.
Okay.
USF passing yards is going to be 179.
All right. So anybody calling in, we'll the first tiebreaker, if it happens, Tyler Buchner plays, we'll go with his passing yards. If he doesn't play, then we'll have an alternative passing yards, which will be, tiebreaker, which will be USF passing yards. So, see, I told you y'all, it's your show, your team, your show, man. I mean, you guys get and I appreciate your kind words at the beginning. And I love doing this, but I love the fact that I can give voice to some of you guys as well. And we try to keep it where we don't have just the craziness on my show, on this show. in that if you come, I tell people all the time, if you come with an analysis, you better be ready to defend it because I'm going to challenge you.
Oh, yeah. You have me before. You sure have. You have me before, but it's great to listen to, and the whole station's fantastic, so I appreciate y'all. Have a great day.
We appreciate you, Philip. And Philip's trying to go 3-0, y'all. Philip is 2-0, and here's the crazy part, y'all. Philip is 2-0. He nailed the first week score perfectly, and he nailed the total for Alabama and Texas, except for he had Texas getting 37 and Alabama only getting 21. Philip, I don't know if you heard me on Monday. I said, I don't know if Philip is not out there in Vegas and he's just pretending to be. Now, Philip, if you get this one, if you get this one, I'm gonna have you. We're gonna have the police come check you out, man. You got some inside information somewhere. All right. All right. Thanks, Philip. Appreciate you being part of the show, man. Hey, listen. Noah, go ahead and get that. I want to leave you all with this thought, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to get score prediction. Go ahead and run that audio to end Saban's response about lessons from prior teams.
Yeah, I think that, we went through some struggles. I forget what year, maybe 2013, 14, 15, somewhere along there where, we were struggling early in the season. We lost to Ole Miss early in the season. We were sort of struggling on offense, couldn't find an identity. Eventually found an identity and had, a really good season. So you keep searching. I think you got to get the right combination of players. You got to get the right chemistry, and everybody's got to do a good job. I mean, I don't care what the identity is. It comes down to execution, whether it's running or passing or punting. All right, it all comes down to your ability to execute. And we've had too many inconsistencies in execution. I mean, when you take drive stoppers, okay, we had 6 offensive penalties. Those are drive stoppers. 2 of those penalties took points off the board. We got sacked 5 times. Sacks are drive stoppers. Drop balls are drive stoppers. We only had 1, drop ball. So, and turnovers are obviously drive stoppers. The other team gets the ball and you don't have it. So when you add all those up, you should be at a much more efficient percentage than we were Saturday night. You can figure it out.
That's Nick Saban. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Drive stoppers, penalties, etc. Can Alabama get all of that corrected? Do they stay with the same quarterback? Do they make a change? Do they correct all of the things that ail them? We'll talk about it right here on the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. That's Noah Haynes, Xavier Houston. I'm Martin Houston. Thanks to all the callers, listeners, viewers, and chatters for being a part of the program. We'll be back on tomorrow to keep the conversation going. We'll get your score predictions. We'll get your keys to victory and more. Remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide out there, everybody.
This is your celebration.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.